So today I thought we would talk about important moves that MLS needs to make in order for the league to have a successful summer. Now, this is a plan that's going to talk about player acquisitions or marquee signings the league needs to make to get more interest across the league, get more casual fans to check out the league, watch more games, and just help the league grow overall. But before we get into that, make sure you like this video down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Guys, we are 15 subscribers away from 6,500, and we are getting closer and closer to hitting our goal of 7,000 by the end of this month. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already and hit that little bell notification so you never miss a video. Okay, so this is an important thing for Major League Soccer to do this summer. We all know that Messi is the biggest brand in the entire world, not just in soccer, but in sports in general. He's the biggest known commodity that there is in sports. But him alone is not going to cut it because you need to distribute the talent evenly throughout the league to give fans a reason to want to watch more than just Inter Miami. So it's very important for these players to be signed, I believe, to give that little boost to the league. And let's start off with the Belgian international best midfielder in the last decade, in my opinion, Kevin De Bruyne, KDB. I always get cooked for getting the acronyms wrong and saying KBD instead of KDB, but I got it right today. So anyway, Kevin De Bruyne. It is very important to get a player of his quality in the league because he is a known commodity and he still has quality left. He's only 33 years old. He is still more than good enough to come to MLS. And the key thing is who he's being negotiated with or talked about to sign with. Now, Fabrizio Romano reported today that the Chicago Fire seem to be in the lead to sign Kevin De Bruyne now instead of Inter Miami. Now, this is a good thing, like I said, because you want to distribute the wealth evenly, right? You don't want to have all these superstars on one team. You want to have them spread out through the league to give people reason to want to watch other teams. Chicago Fire signed Kevin De Bruyne, and there are going to be fans who want to check him out and see what he does, especially because he's who is going to be coaching him and Greg Berhalter, right? People are going to want to see how Kevin De Bruyne performs under Coach Greg Berhalter. And also, too, Chicago is the third most populated city in the United States. You need a marquee signing like Kevin De Bruyne there. And I was talking to a friend earlier about this as far as profile. And the last big name that Chicago had was Bastian Schweinsteiger. And look, I'm a huge Bastian Schweinsteiger fan. I like the German national team. I'm half German. But he was probably the fourth to fifth most popular player on Bayern Munich. He's probably the fourth to fifth most popular player on the German national team. Kevin De Bruyne is a world-class player, or was at least when he was younger. I mean, he's still 33, he's not old, right? But you get what I'm saying. He was a world-class player at his height, and signing him would be the biggest signing in their club history. This is the type of signing that a club like Chicago Fire need to make. And I couldn't think of a better landing spot than the Chicago Fire, outside of maybe San Diego, who was another team interested in him. But it looks like that's fell through, obviously, and Inter Miami own his discovery rights, which is essentially means dibs, right? They have the first priority to sign him. So Kevin De Bruyne to Chicago Fire would be a huge deal and one of the players that the league needs to sign to generate some buzz heading into the summer. Now, the next player is someone that you're very familiar with. It's Paul Pogba. Now, Paul Pogba is a French national team legend. He's won a World Cup with them in 2018. He's still only 31 years old. He'll be 32 years old this year. Obviously, he had a suspension because of the PEDs, but now he is free to sign with a team. And I think a profile that Pogba has, the player profile he has, is enticing for any MLS team to sign. And I think that a good team for him to sign with would be LAFC. Now, LAFC is already the French club. They got Hugo Lloris and Olivier Giroud. Now, Giroud hasn't worked out, obviously, but Hugo Lloris has been pretty good. I think that Paul Pogba would be a great fit for this team in the middle, and I think that he would be instantly probably a top 3 selling jersey in Major League Soccer. I personally have always been a big fan of Paul Pogba since his early days at Juve, and I think that this is a player not by himself would have generate crazy amount of buzz to have people subscribe to MLS Season Pass, but collectively, remember, this is a plan. This is a 5-player plan that I have, or 4-player, maybe a bonus player plan. He is part of that equation. Adding him with Kevin De Bruyne would be huge for the league, and he still has quality. He's 31 years old. Now, I know he's injury prone. at this point. But I think in MLS, against the competition, he probably could keep his that he could probably stay healthier throughout the season and probably play more games than he can at the Premier League or in Serie A at this point. He's still really good. Like I said, he's only 31 years old. I believe he honestly could play for a top league still or at a top club still. So getting him at 31, this is a special occasion. This is something that doesn't come up because of the circumstances with the PED suspension to be in a position to sign someone like him and his quality. So I think MLS has to capitalize and sign a player like Paul Pogba. And I think it would instantly gain buzz. People would buy his jersey. And people are going to want to see how he comes back from the PED suspension and see if he can return to his glory days and the high quality we had seen throughout his entire career. Now, moving on to the third player, it's Thomas Müller. Thomas Müller, obviously Bayern Munich legend, right? We talked earlier about Bastian Schweinsteiger and how he was probably the fourth or fifth most popular player on the Bayern Munich team throughout his career. Thomas Müller was probably one or two throughout most of his career. Thomas Müller is a well-known figure throughout the entire world of soccer. And at 35 years old, going on 36, you could question, okay, how much left does he have in the tank? But I still think a player of his quality would be more than good for MLS. And Thomas Müller was better than Marco Reus, who is at the same age. He was a better player at the peak of his career than what Marco Reus was, in my opinion. You can let me know down below if you agree or disagree with that. But Thomas Müller would add a lot to several different teams. He's been rumored with Cincinnati. He's been rumored with LAFC. I would like to see him at Cincinnati or one of the New York teams. Like we said, the whole objective of this is to spread the wealth. Spread the wealth. So I would like to see him at Cincinnati or New York City FC or the New York Red Bulls. He still has plenty left to give. I think he could probably, as a false nine at this point in his career, he could probably give you 10 to 13 goals, and he could be the missing piece that one of these teams needs to make a deep playoff run. Now, look, I know that his name is not at the same level as maybe Paul Pogba or Kevin De Bruyne at this point, and he's definitely not Messi at this point, but people know who Thomas Müller is, and I think that this, like I said, the equation, add him to the equation of these signings, and I think that it will culminate into something special to where you get a lot of interest. All these players together in the league is going to get some buzz. People are going to want to check him out and see what's going on and see if Thomas Müller is performing well in MLS, how he's doing, is he helping his team maybe lift an MLS Cup trophy. Now, I don't know if there's going to be parallels, between the Bayern Munich fans and like they're going to convert to Cincinnati fans, but I do think that there could be some interest to check and see how he's playing. Now, I have to mention too that LAFC has a partnership with Bayern, and they have been pushing for him to sign there. But after the Olivier Giroud botch signing, him not performing to the level of what you're paying, $6 million a year, I don't think signing another 36-year-old would be the right move for them. I think the Paul Pogba route makes way more sense because he's only 31 years old. And I think Thomas Müller, like I said, is a better fit for a New York club or a Cincinnati. And guess what? So far, we have not named the same club twice. We are spreading these players out. That is the key. Now, this one is where it gets a little dicey, and people are going to be upset and say that this is not going to happen and it shouldn't happen, and it would be bad for the player, and it'd be bad for, it wouldn't be bad for the league, but it'd be bad for the player. But Gio Reyna, okay? Now, hear me out on this, right? Gio Reyna has struggled to get any minutes for Borussia Dortmund. He, at one time, was considered to be the most talented American player we had. Not better than Christian Pulisic, but more talented. Like people thought he had a higher ceiling than Christian Pulisic. But that has completely halted, stagnated, because he doesn't get any minutes, okay? Now, there's been reports that said that maybe he could get a move to Rangers or the Scottish Premier League, or maybe go to another club in the Bundesliga. But let's be honest. At this point, the most important thing for Gio Reyna is to get some minutes, to play. In MLS, he's going to be paid handsomely. He's going to play. He's going to go up against better competition than what an American player was going up against in the league 10 years ago. I think he could still grow in MLS. Now, obviously, the USMNT fans are going to be upset with this. I mean, I am a USMNT fan, but the USMNT MLS haters is what we'll call them. They're not going to want that to happen because they believe he can do better. But let's be honest, if it's between MLS and the Scottish Premier League, why would you want him to go to the Scottish Premier League? The Scottish Premier League is terrible. From top to bottom, it's a two-team league, way worse than MLS. And honestly, Celtic and Rangers are very historic clubs, very good quality, but MLS's top teams like Miami, the Crew, they are closer to Celtic and Rangers, and they're closer to them than they ever have been before. And the league is better from top to bottom. So I think Gio Reyna would be better served to play in Major League Soccer at this point. He's only 22 years old. I think he'd be better served to play in MLS at this point because he just needs to get minutes. He just needs to play. And if he dominates here, maybe he gets a move back. But I think that this would help also get some of the American fans who just don't care about MLS. If we really want to make this into what it is, we think it all can be one day, we're going to have to get these USMNT fans who don't watch MLS to tune in and watch MLS. What better way to do that than to get a USMNT integral player into the league? And that I think that that's been a disconnect too from MLS and the USMNT. In years past, you had Donovan, you had Jermaine Jones, you had Dempsey, you had Howard. Well, Howard towards the end of his career, but more importantly, Donovan, Dempsey, Michael Bradley, Josie Altidore, all these key players played in MLS. Now, I'm not saying I want all of them to play in MLS. Obviously, we want them to play in the best leagues they possibly can. But I don't think it's a bad thing to have 1, 2, maybe 3, 4, hell, maybe even 5 USMNT players play in MLS. I don't think that's a bad thing because you do want to have that connection between the USMNT and between them and MLS. You know, you do want to have that connection between the fans that will watch both the national team and the league. So I don't think of it as a bad thing. I think it would be good and it would be well served for him. And obviously, since he's been struggling, he really doesn't have a lot of options right now. This would be something I could see definitely happening this summer if the right buyer comes along. Maybe a Galaxy, maybe someone else. We will just have to see. Now, I did want to name one wild card signing, and I think that's Antoine Griezmann. Now, at this point, it seems like a Hail Mary. We reported and heard many people say that Antoine Griezmann looked like he was destined to go to LAFC, but that has fallen through. Looks like he wants to retire at Atletico Madrid. And each passing day, it looks like it's not going to happen. He's not going to be an LAFC player, which is a shame because I would have loved to see Antoine Griezmann play in LAFC and play in Major League Soccer. But it's just not in the cards. It looks like he wants to retire in La Liga at Atletico Madrid, the club he loves. And that's why I mentioned earlier about Pogba signing with LAFC in place of Antoine Griezmann. And, you know, I still think it maybe could happen. I wouldn't put it at 0. I would put it more like I was at probably 90% sure it was going to happen this past fall. Now I'm probably at like maybe 10, 15% positive it would happen, likely to happen. So that's the kind of player that wanted to come to America, wanted to play in MLS, and MLS can't really fail to sign these guys. They need to seal the deal and get these players in here. Now, LAFC could have had him last year if they were willing to pay what he wanted, $20 million a year, but they just weren't willing to pay that, and they wanted the league to help subsidize that salary, and which is a shame because it would have been nice to have someone like him in the league, but it is what it is. Antoine Griezmann likely not coming to Major League Soccer at this point. Out of all those players, which one do you think would have the biggest impact coming to MLS? Like I said, it's part of a plan. You need to have 4 to 5 guys you bring to the league, really generate a lot of interest between all 5 of them to have people wanting to check out this guy, that guy, Müller, Reyna, Kevin De Bruyne, Pogba. Like, we need to have a bunch of guys, not just rely on Messi, one person to get all the interest because people are just going to watch Inter Miami and then they're going to tune out. We want people to watch mini games. We want people to watch Cincinnati. We want people to watch LAFC. We want people to watch New York City FC. We want people to watch Chicago Fire. And when you get these people here, this is another important thing. When you get these players here and they play next to, you know, Kevin De Bruyne is playing next to Brian Gutierrez, or he's playing with Chris Brady, or he's playing with Hugo Kuipers or Jonathan Bamba, you're going to have these players recognized by average fans. They're going to build a name for themselves and they will be discovered and people can be familiar with players maybe they haven't heard of before. So what happened with Miami with Messi? Diego Gomez was an unknown commodity from Paraguay, played with Messi for a year, then he got sold to Brighton for $15 million. So this is good. This is how you build names. You need to have recognizable players, fans interested in watching those games, And then hopefully these players can build a name for themselves, and then fans can get to learn some of these unknown players in the league. That's a good way to help the league grow. Another thing too is, I don't know if many of you know this, but there is a game a week on Fox. It's not just Apple TV. They do have one game a week on Fox. I think that they need to have primetime games on Fox. They need to have big matchups. They need to have the best game of the week on Fox too, because you want to get as many casual viewers who are just channel flipping or have access to Fox to tune in and watch your game, to watch the product, to see if they like it. So that way, if they do, maybe they do want to subscribe to Apple TV. Now, Apple TV has been given out it's been given out for free in many different ways. T-Mobile, DraftKings $5 bet gets you the whole season for free. So they have implemented other things to give it to you for free, but they also need to get on Fox to give people sample size. One less step of having to maneuver through an app to watch the game. And it would be a good sample for your casual fans to watch the league. So they need to put big games on the regular station on Fox, which they have a deal with right now, and really promote the hell out of it to get people to watch it. And guys, that is my keys to success for MLS this summer. I want to know what you think. What are your keys to the success of MLS this summer? Do you agree with my plan? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you like this video, make sure you hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that little bell notification so you never miss a video. Until next time, guys, I will see you all soon.